Hey, Walter Sorrells back with more tips for the knife maker. Today I'll be challenging myself to grind 4 blades in 4 minutes apiece using this cool little piece of kit, the Sorrells brick. So today I'm going to be grinding 4 very different knives. These are the patterns that I'm going to be using this little jig right here that I call the Sorrells brick. Now the challenge is going to be to see how much I can get done in 4 minutes. Can I get a whole knife blade ground in 4 minutes? Stick around and find out. Okay, quick backtrack here in case you missed my earlier videos about this tool. It's a grinding jig that I manufacture and I call it a brick because, yeah. Anyway, if you want one, sorrellstool.com. Bottom line though, this has 4 fixed angles. You put the blade that you're getting ready to grind on here like this, and each one of these angles is slightly different, and that allows you to grind a whole bunch of different types of knives, different angles, and so on. If you're curious about that noise back there, that's my CNC machine, which is busy pumping these things out right now. Anyway, today we're going to take 4 knife blanks, and all these knives are quite different in thickness, different in geometry. This one's a tanto point, and so we're going to show them using this brick right here. Stick around to the end where we give you a handful of tips and tricks about how to use this jig. All right, let's run over to the grinding room and we'll get started. Okay, the point of today's video is to see how quickly and accurately we can grind the bevels of these blades with my little gadget here. But first, just so you can see how I got to that stage, I'm going to be using these patterns to get the blade outlines made. You've seen me do this many times in videos, so I'm not going to talk about it too much. I'm using 2 pieces of 1/8 inch S30V stainless, 1 piece of 3/16 S30V, and 1 piece of 1/4 inch 80 CRV2. Just for variety, I'm doing them several different ways. Some with layout fluid, some without, and I'm drilling the holes in various different ways. By using the patterns and the drilling jig, I know, I make that one too, you can assure yourself the handle holes are in the right place. Plenty of other ways to do this, but this really is a pretty efficient, accurate approach. Believe me, I've tried a lot of them, so I know. Outlines ground. Again, not lingering here because the focus of today's video is bevel grinding. So let's get to the money part of today's vid, the bevel grinding. This right here is my Tactics Armory Shadow 2 design, one of my oldest designs. It's 0.125 thick, 1/8 inch thick S30V stainless steel. I'll be grinding this one on the 4-degree side. So how far can I get in 4 minutes? I'm pretty optimistic. I think I can do a lot with this one. Okay, so we're starting right now. Let's see how far we get. I'll start with a 36 grit Norton Blaze, blasting away to get the bevel roughed in. For this particular grind, I'm showing every second of it. Obviously, I've sped up a whole bunch of it because it would be incredibly boring to watch me grind for 4 straight minutes. But this little passage does literally show every second of this particular grind. One minute and 46 seconds. We got it roughed out. Changing to 120 grit. 17 seconds. Let's throw some Trizac on here. And there we have it, 4 minutes and 4 seconds. That, woo, it's hot, but that is a pretty nice grind for 4 minutes. So there it is. I haven't touched it. I haven't messed with it. I haven't prettied it up. That is exactly what I got in 4 minutes. Now, realistically, you know, is this an absolutely perfect grind? No, I could put another 15 seconds into it, and it would be about as good as I'm going to get. And that's, you know, depending on the market you're aiming for, that is not some ugly 36 grit grind. That's a pretty nice, even, decent looking professional grind. 4 minutes and what did I say, 4 seconds. All right, next we'll be doing the design that I call the Nightmare, which is a tanto point design. If you've ever ground tanto points, you'll know that they're quite challenging to grind, so let's see how that works out. This one's going to be a big old honking piece of 80 CRV2, 1/4 inch thick, so we'll be doing it on the 7-degree angle side. When grinding tanto blades, you want to run that grind all the way out to the tip as your starting point, focusing on making it nice and even so it runs parallel to the edge. Only then should you turn to the point. The way to do this, you want to grind exactly parallel to the center line that you've scribed. Do that, and the tip grind will come out perfectly. So it's kind of fun to grind fast, but truthfully, something I want to make clear is that the Sorrells brick, or any other jig, is not a magic bullet. I've been grinding for a long time, and so that makes this tool a little bit of a cheat code for me. But still, if you're just getting started with knife making and you're having trouble with your grinds, a jig like this really will help. Will it make your grinding perfect? Nope. But no question, it'll make things easier and better. Some key points: you want to grind carefully and at a reasonable belt speed, and when you do that, the brick's going to make it a lot easier to get a good even grind. Using a structured abrasive or some other relatively forgiving belt for your final grind, running at a very slow speed, will also help you to even things up at the end. See? Nothing to it. Finishing up with a VSM structured abrasive. And there it is, another nice solid grind. Again, with a little more time, I'd even things up and do a few other little cosmetic touches, but for roughly 4, 5, 6 minutes, pretty sweet. How about a hollow grind? Can you do that on the Sorrells brick? Yes, you can. We'll be doing this, you know, basically kind of traditional medium hunter type blade. This one's going to be 187 thick, 0.187, that's 3/16, a little bit thicker, and we're going to hollow grind it. Let's see if we can do that in 4 minutes. We'll be doing that on the 5-degree side of the jig. Using a jig on a hollow grind has some challenges that I won't get into here, but it still works. I'm sure in another video I'll show some details of that. So this knife right here is my Eclipse that I make under my Tactics Armory brand. It's 0.125 thick S30V. I'm grinding it on the 3-degree angle. That's this one right here of the Sorrells brick. And let's just get cranking on it. More or less the same sequence of belts, but in this case, because the angle's so shallow, we're grinding right up to the spine. But that's part of the versatility of this tool, is that with this wide range of angles, you can give yourself a pretty high or a pretty low grind line depending on what you like. But the higher the grind, the better a knife cuts. You'll notice that I start at the plunge line, work my way to the tip. Some people do it other ways, but that's the way that works for me. As I hit the tip, I pull back a little on the far end of the brick, pivoting the whole thing slightly. This is necessary to get your tip ground all the way. Otherwise, it stays real thick out there. And that's true whether you're using a jig or not, by the way. I'm finishing up with the VSM Pro Touch felt back J-Flex belts. You'll notice that I'm using a different finishing strategy for each one of these things. It's difficult to see on camera, but each one gives quite a different little feel. They're all good, but I would say in terms of grinding, finishing strategies are where you see the most differentiation between makers. Every maker's got his favorite way of getting there, and that's always going to result in a different kind of effect. And there they are. Did each one of them take exactly 4 minutes? No. The Shadow 2 and the Eclipse, yeah, they ran right at 4 minutes. The Tanto point took a couple minutes longer, and I believe the hollow grind did too, though I wasn't measuring it. Still, we're talking 6-7 minutes to get a grind that's pretty close to being finished. Not bad. All right, I'm going to wrap up here with a few quickie hints about using the brick. I'll probably do a more extensive tips and tricks type thing in the next few months where I really, show a lot of little nuancy stuff about this. But a few quick points here. First one, make sure that you hang that tip off of the end. I mentioned that in the video. Every time I talk about this, if you stick it right here, you're gonna grind the corner off of that brick. Second point, all things being equal, the thinner the blade, the smaller the angle that you want to use. Okay, so point 3, when you get down to the final couple of passes on any particular grit, you want to kind of clean off the bottom side and clean off the table. I'm not talking about meticulously cleaning it off. Just get some of that grit off there. It'll tend to bind a little bit when you have a bunch of grit, especially heavier grits like 36 grit or 60 grit. It'll tend to kind of bind and it doesn't move quite as smoothly across. So on those final passes where you're trying to get a real nice clean grind, just quick wipe here, quick wipe there, off you go. Okay, point number 4, one thing to bear in mind, it says 3 degrees, 4 degrees, 5 degrees, whatever. This is not the 17 decimal places of precision. This is kind of rough and ready type tool. That's really the whole point of the thing. So 3 degrees, 4 degrees, 5 degrees, 7 degrees, those are very approximate, and the point is just so that you know which one is the most acute and which one is not. Okay, so last point, always make sure that you didn't drop it off the edge. I typically grind these just holding it by hand, but you can put a clamp on here, you can put a welder's clamp, whatever, and that'll make it a little less likely that when you set it down on the table by accident, you don't just drop the knife all the way to the table and have that angle wrong. Of course, I've never done that, but it can happen. It's actually pretty easy to happen. So it's just something, every tool has limitations, and that's something to watch out for on this particular tool. Alrighty then, that about wraps it up. Honestly, I have been kind of shocked at how popular this thing has been. It kind of took me by surprise. I've had the CNC machine pumping non-stop for months now, making these things. And I think the reason that it's been so popular is that it's just a real simple, robust, easy to use tool. And so if you want to give it a try, sorrellstool.com or Pop's Knife Supply. All right, guys, thanks for watching and keep on making those knives. Thanks for watching, guys. If you like what we're doing here, please subscribe and make sure that you click on that bell so you get notified of all the latest videos. Want to buy a knife from me? Check out my modern blades at tacticsarmory.com. Digging the channel? You can support our video making efforts on Patreon. You know, I've been banging away on these videos for like 10 years, so I hope you'll show some love for all that hard work. Link in the cards and descriptions. Finally, if you're interested in making Japanese swords, check out my full line of Japanese sword videos where I show how to forge Japanese swords as well as how to polish them and how to make fittings, handles, and scabbards. WalterSorrellsBlades.com.